ECU?
R.
Do you bleed purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome in, Hoist the Colors on a Reaction Friday. We finally have football to talk about on the field of play. East Carolina falls to NC State 24-17. Typical game one. Too many mistakes, though, on ECU's side. A lot of mistakes on NC State's side, but the Pirates just make too many errors to overcome. I'm sure we'll get into the fourth down call. We've got a lot to talk about. As always, the comments section is open on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So if you got a question, comment there, drop it, and we'll get to it throughout the show. All right, Philip Pilkington is producing. He's doing all his things behind the scenes. We also have Bobby Harvard in studio, our typical Friday guest, brought to you by Sup Dogs. Bobby, what's up, man?
What's happening? First ever reaction show, so the mindset is a little different today, getting to react to last night's game. Wish we had a better outcome, but, you know, all in all, I'll be quite honest, that we could be discussing quite a different ball game if we didn't get back in it. It could have been a lot of unanswered questions if it continued on that, 17-0 trajectory that was continuing to look like a blowout. But the fact that we battled back in it, I feel pretty good. Honestly, was telling Philip pre-show, I actually feel really good about our defense after seeing that performance. I think that answered a lot of questions and calmed some uncertainties and nerves that I had going into the season about how our defense will look.
Yeah, we'll get more into specifics as time goes on with the show. We do have some comments. By the way, check us on Facebook, Philip. I'm not getting a live feed. Make sure we're live there.
Sorry. My bad.
All good, man. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, typical season opener. We talk all season about the defense. Are they going to be able to stop anybody? Well, on the first few drives, it looked like, all right, this may be a problem. I credit Josh Aldridge, thought he caught a good game. They made a lot of good adjustments. And I feel confident that the offense is going to be okay long term. We'll get into some of the issues with the offensive line. When you can't run the ball, when you can't block on the perimeter or up front, it's just hard. And, last night for me reaffirmed that Caden Hauser is the quarterback. And it reaffirmed, honestly, that Blake Harrell is the coach of this program, the fake punt. And I know we'll get into the discussion about the end of the game, the clock management, but he was clearly, and he talked about it post-game, he was clearly trying to run the clock down, score, go for two in the win. And obviously it ended up backfiring because you can argue you get out of your tempo offense. But I personally feel like that was the right decision because I still don't want to leave it in the defense's hands again. But I don't know. I come away personally with more positives than negatives last night because I look at how much can be fixed, but also the base starting point is maybe a little bit higher for this defense than I originally thought.
Yeah, I think it's first of all, I'm not going to tell anybody how they should feel or not feel about a game, but I will say I think it's fair to be disappointed in the outcome, but also be pleased with overall what we saw from the defense. From a head coaching perspective, honestly, early on, I was a little worried because we came out what looked to be flat and unprepared. And so I was like, oh, man, this doesn't look anything like what we saw towards the end of last year. And so the fact that they kind of regathered themselves at halftime, played, a solid and sound second half of football. And then from a time management perspective, I thought he pulled all the right strings. I mean, the fake punt was a killer. I turned to my wife and said, man, the set on him to go for that fake punt deep in that situation like that.
That was a call, man. It was your own 19?
Yeah. I mean, and it wasn't fourth and short either. It was medium to long. And then I love the end of the game situation, running out the clock. You convert that fourth down and we go in and score, and they have very little time, especially if we get the 2-point conversion. I mean, everybody's talking about what a magnificent job of clock management. And so for me, it was a game of the team who won the line of scrimmage and made fewer mistakes won the ball game. And when I say line of scrimmage, That's just not even talking about the interior. That's talking on the perimeter because they kicked our butts in both the horizontal run game and the vertical run game. We couldn't get anything going horizontal. They were getting their tails whipped on the perimeter. We were getting our tails whipped up front. And to your point about Caton Hauser, too, that's another thing I'd mentioned to Philip before the show was the fact that we had zero run game. They knew we were one-dimensional in the second half, and we're able to still get back in the game, I think speaks a lot to who he is. And I think you'd mentioned in an article he had zero turnover-worthy plays throughout the whole game, which
on 48 dropbacks.
It's crazy.
Philip, your initial takeaways coming out of the game?
Yeah, it was a little frustrating, right, to lose the point of attack, especially like Bobby said. I think it's one thing to lose it in the middle of the field. It's maybe a little bit more of something to lose it on the perimeter, as bad as they did, and to not get the ball. We were talking about on the way home last night. I go to Jaquez Petaway at least one time beyond the line of scrimmage. Was a little frustrating, but overall, look, you dug yourself in a hole. You fought back. You showed character. Tegan Wilk talked about it post-game that no one ever looked demoralized. No one ever looked like they had fear in their eyes. Everybody kept fighting. We saw that with the energy on the sidelines in the changeover between the third and fourth quarter. People on TV probably did not get to see that because it was majority happening during the commercial break. So I like that. The other side of it is, man, you were better for three quarters and you got beat. And that's frustrating, right? Because we talked about it on the show. You can't win a game in the first quarter, but you sure can lose one. They lost it, which, again, is frustrating, but also, like, you were better than a Power 4 team for three quarters, and you couldn't run the darn ball because you were losing the point of attack. Like, if there's not a lot of positives to take away from that game, then I'm sorry, you might just not know football. And I'm not trying to, like, question people's intelligence, but there is so many positives to take away. The defense, especially on the back end, like, those receivers are better than our DBs. They are. They're a lot better. And our DBs hung in there. Were there some plays that didn't go our way? Sure. You know, the fade ball down the right side there on what ended up being their second missed field goal drive. Like, dude's a heck of a lot better athlete than Reason, but Reason didn't get burnt. Reason made the tackle, and Reason put the team in position to then force a bad field goal attempt. They had a very much bend but not break mentality after being broke so many times on those first few drives. And I think it speaks a lot to the character of our young men, character of the coaching staff, and the fact that this team may not be the most talented, but they're going to bring it and they're ready to play.
Yeah, I wrote this morning, but defensively, I don't know if they have many game changers, but like outside of the seam ball, where I mean, NC State did catch them in the wrong coverage, depending on which way you're looking at it, but also like wasn't well played coverage-wise. But that was like the one really busted coverage. Outside of that, NC State just had better athletes, I thought. Like most of the time, like ECU didn't seem out of position defensively, which is what I was worried about.
Well, the only part where I saw them out of position was on the edge a few times, and you would
in
see
the run
them,
game,
and it hit it right off the tackle, and it looked like there was a little too much space between that alley player and him not closing down tight enough to that C gap. So that was it, but they adjusted well because they got gashed with it in the first half, and particularly the first quarter, and then I think they really only hit a C gap run maybe once or twice after that. So that shows the adjustment. I thought we won probably 85% to 90% of the first downs. I think where we got in trouble was the second and third downs. I did like what we saw from a lot of variety of fronts from Coach Aldridge. I noticed a lot of line movement and stuff. It seemed like almost every second down we were doing some interior stunt of some sort between the nose tackle and the defensive tackle, which was cool to see. And it worked for us both in the run game and in the pass game. And then sometimes in the run game, we did get sealed off a little bit, not able to fully loop back around, and that's where you saw some hits in the run game as well. But I was very pleased with Damian Wilson's play as well. He was another one I took away being pretty pleased with.
Yeah, honestly, the linebackers played better than I thought they would. So that was I thought Danka was making some plays after settling in early. All right, let's get to some of these comments because we got a lot of them. Lane Smith, first up, no surprise. What was that play calling? Honestly, awful in my opinion. The run game was awful. All right, so the run game was awful. I want to start there first. When you can't run the football, it's hard to call plays. Let me start there. I'm not trying to make excuses for John David Baker, who's had a tough week in multiple ways now. But, look, I mean, I did think clearly with the game plan, and part of this is the offense. Bob, you can speak on this. Like, you do want to stretch them horizontally and vertically, so you have to throw the horizontal passes. But, like, there came a point in the second half where it was clear, like, it just wasn't working. And they kind of kept going to it, and I get it. You've got some athletes with speed. You want to give them the football, but I thought they just stuck with it a little too much at times. And then once they did start attacking the middle of the field, especially with the tight ends, it really started to open up the offense. But I don't know. It just felt like it took too long to make that adjustment.
Yeah, and part of the reason you have to continue to try to keep hammering away at the run game and hope something pops is you got to soften them in other areas. Yeah. And that's kind of what his philosophy was. And honestly, the way this offense functions, the fact they were not able to get the perimeter run game going, that opens a lot for them in the interior run game. And the fact that both were shut down. One thing we had success in later in the game, and I'm surprised he didn't go to it earlier, and maybe he tried to, but just watching it on TV, it was a little bunched up. It looked like we had success with some of the outside zone run. And what I mean by that is kind of the old school Mike Shanahan inside zone stretch type deal where those linemen are hauling butt to the sideline, and it's really a zone run, and that running back is just waiting until he sees a gap and hits it. And we had success with that a little bit in London Montgomery. I was speaking of the run game, I was very interested in how the running back rotation would look like, and it looked like London Montgomery was the main guy.
Yeah.
And then Parker Jenkins seemed to kind of spell him, and then Marlon Gunn, like y'all suspected, was the goal line guy.
I don't want to put it all on the offensive line. There was, I can't remember if it was the second to last drive or the last drive, there was a run London Montgomery had where if he would have cut it back outside, which obviously, like, there's a fine line there, but, like, he ran straight into the offensive line. If he would have cut it back, there was nobody home. He could have had a huge gash play.
Is this the one where it looked like it was kind of supposed to be an inside?
It was definitely designed to go
right,
inside.
To the right,
yeah.
But he kind of went to the left, and there was a huge hole to the right. Is that the one you're talking about?
All I know is when Caton handed him the football, Caton held up his arms because he thought he was going to score a touchdown, but he made the wrong cut.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't remember when that is like 100% he could have bounced it outside, and we may be thinking about the same play. We may have just saw it different. Yeah. But I do remember it now. Look, 100 miles an hour, easier said than done, to hit the right hole. But it felt like it was one of those Caton handed, and it may have been, I can't remember, what side Caton handed it off on, but it felt like if he kind of got to the right and then went hash number sidelines, he was gone, and he went back to the left, and it just he just got gobbled up by 4 dudes. But yeah, I'm with you. I think we might be talking about the same play. And if we're talking about 2 different plays, then that's even worse. So
I think majority fell in the O-line, but it's never just one position unit's fault. It just reminds me a lot of last year. Early in the season, their running game just seemed off. O-line, cuts, all that, and they got to figure out a way to get that figured out. You get exposed when you play a team as good as State, which, let's be honest, they have better defensive linemen than ECU, so they're not used to practicing against that, seeing that look with the new offensive line. All right, the 4th down call, 4th and 1. What do you guys think about the call? It's been much discussed. We'll start with
should we listen to Caton's take first?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, here we go.
Thanks for the reminder. We'll hit Caton's take on the 4th and 1, which resulted in a 1-yard loss to Desiree Rouse.
We knew they were going to play man coverage. We're going to get O on the flat, get them a crack, and try to get them a one-on-one. And they just made a good play, made a good tackle on the perimeter. So, props to them making a good play on that play.
All right, Caton Hauser's take. And, Bobby, I know you've rewatched this. I've gone back and rewatched it a couple times as well. We were trying to decipher, is it an RPO? Is it just a straight pass? Either way, Caton got it out because he was about to get hit if he didn't get it out quick. And the State corner just made a great play.
Yeah, I think, looking at it seemed to be an RPO. I think Caton recognized the edge pressure so quickly because they were showing, they were hauling butt off the edge there because it's a short yardage situation. They're trying to make a play on defense. So he just gave what we would call a token fake and barely almost, not necessarily ride it like you would think a true RPO, but kind of just a fake show of the ball and flash and throw to get the ball out to the flats. And honestly, that corner made a great play. He crack replaced just like he should. For those who don't know, Anthony Smith was out there lined up at receiver, and he was going in to crack the man lined up on Riles. And as he did that, the corner came in with him and then recognized Riles coming out to the flats and then just made a heck of a play. And the way he hit and tackled Riles, Riles was just unable to gather his balance to try to fall forward, because the other hope in that situation, tight end, bigger body than a corner, you at least fall forward and probably pick up a yard. But the way his body was contorted when he caught the ball and then got hit just didn't allow for that. So honestly, they won the play, and kudos to them. They stepped up when they needed to. It sounded like, listening to Dave Doran's presser, and you'd mentioned this in an article this morning, they had known that was a possibility coming that play, and they were ready for it.
Yeah, the quote from Dave Doran, well, I thought it would either be a repeat of their speed option, which they scored on earlier, or what they ran, the naked crack screen that they ran on us last year in the bowl game. He said, I didn't expect them to try to run the ball at the middle. I thought it would be something off the edges, which is why they were probably crashing so hard on the edge. And he said the defense did a great job crack replacing. Coach Elliott prepared them well for that play. We practiced that play throughout the week, a play just like that. We ran it 4 or 5 times in the red zone. The kids executed. Corner came up with a big, solid tackle on the tight end. I was proud of those guys on defense. So, look, you play these teams back-to-back. That's a bread-and-butter play for ECU in this situation, and State was on it. So you give them credit. Also a learning lesson for ECU, maybe find a way to, come up with a different look off that going forward.
Well, and also that's a byproduct of not being able to run the football, too.
3rd and 1, you got to be able to run the ball, too.
100%. So the fact that they could get zero pressure out front, because if anybody watched it at home, wasn't a great commentating crew, but Steve Adazio did say he had asked JDB, hey, 3rd, 4th, and 1, what are you doing? He said inside zone left. And so, they were running inside zone right, but it sounded like Caton already knew. Granted, he recognized it right. Yeah. So I want to be clear. His reads that he's taught to read, he executed exactly how he should. It was just an unfortunate situation, and NC State won the play.
And I'm not blaming Caton. I think Caton did everything right. And but he had to get the ball out a little quicker than he originally wanted to, right? Because you got to think, theoretically, you're going to ride that RPO. Now, he recognized it, and rightfully, I think, just did the quick flash of the ball. And I do think by going back and watching it, it was an RPO, because if you look at the linemen, the way they blocked that late in the game, it's a little hard to go high hat, low hat, because I think your hips and your knees are hurting you a little bit. But still, there was that punch. There wasn't the retreat. So I do think it was, or a pull out there for a normal screen. Of course, it was going the other way, but still, I do think it was an RPO, but still, his timing, and they were coming at him so quick, he had to kind of flick it. I didn't feel like he had time, and again, not his fault, to get a full throwing motion, and that's why Riles didn't catch it with his momentum going upfield like you would want him to. And again, back to your point, Bobby, and Igo and I talked about this on the way home, that if he catches that, you're taking your tight end falling forward over that corner. But because the ball wasn't perfect, he kind of had to receive the ball, and it just... it was kind of crap luck. Again, like we said, and I'm not trying to take anything away from NC State. The young man who made the play recognized it perfect. The kid who was coming off the edge forced Caton to throw the ball quick. Caton did everything he could do. DeCiro did everything he could do. You're talking about one play in a course of 60 minutes. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. Unfortunately, you lost a 4th and 1 play with 35 seconds left in the game.
And as Bobby said, it all comes back to, if you can just run the ball for a yard on 3rd and 1, then, or 3rd and 2, whatever it was, then you're not in that situation. Yep. So it's just that simple. Run the football and win games. All right, we'll get a break in. We'll come back. We'll continue on a lot more comments. We'll get to this is Hoist the Colors Reaction Friday.
The team of Flatlands Jessup is working overtime to help ensure that Eastern North Carolinians like you get the health insurance help you need this open enrollment period. New legislation passed, meaning more people than ever qualify for affordable coverage. Let us help you today.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
Tired of the 1-800 numbers advertising Medicare products? Flatlands Jessup has 6 offices all throughout eastern North Carolina. You get face-to-face help from our local award-winning licensed team. Stop by today. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arrgh! In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Alan, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
The Pirates play here.
Time to play the game!
This is Hoist the Colors with Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors, reacting to East Carolina's season opening loss 24-17 to the NC State Wolfpack. Bobby Harvard is brought to you by Sup Dogs today. Philip Pilkington also in the house producing. It was a late night for all of us, so we're trudging right along, but got football to talk about, so we can't complain too much. Sup Dogs, 213 East 5th Street, Greenville, North Carolina. You guys know the deal. Multiple-time Barstool Best Bar champion. Check them out. Also support Crush Vodka. They do a tremendous job supporting East Carolina athletics. All right, let's get more into these comments. We'll react to them as we go along as well. All right. Corsair says, something I noticed last night, State seemed to possess more overall team speed. What do you think? I tell you what, they were definitely stronger.
Yeah, I mean
probably faster too.
Traditionally, they're going to recruit bigger, faster, stronger. I think that's kind of the rule of thumb with those Power 4 teams. I know we've heard in the offseason the talk of how fast this team is, and the ECU football social media put out those graphics of. But we got to remember those times and those speeds were in shorts and no shirt. So it was the underwear Olympics, as they call it.
And I thought watching it live, like ECU. Like, watching the defense play, like, they covered up some ground quickly. Like, I tell you what, Hollywood Smothers, I don't know what his final stat line ended up being, but that dude is unreal, man. He was making guys miss left and right. And I think ECU at times defensively, at least the fronts, had to play slower, because I did notice on the rush, it wasn't even a true rush. Like, they were just trying to contain C.J. Bailey. And that was obviously the game plan. They used the same game plan in the bowl game. They would typically drop a spy as well. And, to your point, NC State, look, I cover recruiting. You know, the ACC right now with the rev share, all that, they're going to win 99 times out of 100 recruiting unless it's just a special situation. I mean, that's just the reality. They're going to have better players for the most part, and you saw that, especially up front in the trenches is the most glaring weakness, I would say, or the most glaring difference. All right, Corsair also says last season ECU was credited as being a second-half team. They need to work on that. I don't know if he's saying...
They were a second-half team last night. They just dug themselves in so much of a darn hole.
Maybe he's saying that ECU needs to be a faster start.
Quicker,
yeah. That's understandable. Team. Yeah.
Well, that was, I mean, the very first play, our defense was not lined up. To me, that part right there is inexcusable. I know they may be most defensive coordinators, they make their call based on the personnel package. So if you're watching and you see the numbers on the board that are up, that's the personnel. The first number is the running back, the amount of running backs. The second number is the amount of tight ends. And normally, within those personnel groupings, offensive coordinators have play calls that they like and formations that they like, depending on the down and distance. So then they get their call in. And maybe they just didn't get the personnel in quick enough with the first play because they are able to huddle kind of on the sideline with everybody there, and it took a little bit to relay that information in. But, I mean, off the jump, very first play, we were just kind of off script there on that first series.
Yeah, that was man. Between the snaps and the false starts and the drop passes, like it was just every drive, first or second down, there was an error and you know as well as anybody, like this offense, once you get that first down, man, it's just like it breathes so much life. It almost feels unstoppable. But like if you get off script behind the chains, you're really in trouble.
I mean, we would show cut-ups of, like, good drives we were having and then a penalty and then just how much that sets you back. And, I mean, there are a few situations last night that penalties were just crucial. The first one is obviously at the end of the half there, and you have
Not
a holding
call there, by the way, too. It was pretty weak.
Yeah, and so that backs you up. And then you at least have a chance you throw a quick pass and do everything you need, and we drop the football. So those are two crucial mistakes right there that, get you 3 extra points. It wouldn't have affected the end of the game situation. We still would have had to score a touchdown, but the momentum going into halftime is probably a little bit different. And then the other one is after the fake punt, we completely wasted that situation and that mojo because, we get a 2nd and 6. We commit a penalty to go to
False
2nd and
start.
11. And then now we throw a hitch again, and that gets us back to 3rd and 6. We just essentially wasted it down and then lose that momentum that you got from your fake punt.
So many mistakes, man. Obviously, NC State, they missed the 2 field goals, and they made mistakes as well. But it's just week one, and you got to get those things fixed. They come back to bite you, as Blake Harrell said after the game. All right. Jones Bones says Caton Hauser is a dude. The defense will be much better later in the season. And what was that in the slot last night? Can we please get Brock Spalding back as punt returner? So here's my thing going forward. First off, I thought Kyler Pearson did fine, punt returner. I thought he looked like he knew what he was doing, which is half the battle back there. Jaquez Petaway, I don't know if he got hurt. I don't know if they just took him out of the game. I need to get clarification on that. But if he is not the answer in the slot, and I'm not going to write him off. It's like he played 20 snaps against NC State in the season opener. Then I am moving Brock Spalding to the slot. He's playing outside. He's doing a good job. Obviously, he can make contested catches, but like I want my best receivers on the field. If he plays like he did last night, he's one of my best receivers. I'm getting him on the field with Yannick and Anthony Smith, and I think he can really add something to the offense. So at least you know, it's so funny. We talked all these guys. We barely mentioned Brock Spalding outside of the arrest, and yet he had an incredible game.
He had a coming out party in a way, and to your point, you want your 3 best guys because right now if he's going to line up on the outside, you put him in. Well, you're taking one of your 2 best guys out, in Yannick or Anthony Smith. So I'm not going to lose hope on Jaquez Petaway. I think again, first game, a lot of the gadgets and stuff, they just weren't really successful because they were getting their butts whipped at the line of scrimmage. Maybe he's a rhythm player too, and that was part. I mean, they got him the ball very early. I think even the first play, and and he just never really found a rhythm and got in a groove. And hopefully there's no injury situation. It was just happenstance that they ended up going Magnum in the slot.
Okay, Bobby. Oh, sorry, Igo. I was just going to say, Igo and I talked about there was only like one mesh concept all night. And when you look at an offense who, we talked about the slot receivers so much during camp. Is it going to be Petaway? Is it going to be somebody else? But we feel good about the slot role. Last year, Winston Wright was really good in that slot role. Now people are talking about Brock Spalding in that slot role. Were you a little upset to not see, the ball thrown a little bit shallow across the middle to see? I feel like we didn't do a good enough job of getting the ball in the slot receiver's hands. Every time we did, it was behind the line of scrimmage and getting blown up.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. Because where we were also kind of starting to, in a way, try to use as our run game is those quick little hitches and stuff like that. And that's where you saw us be able to play off of that with a double move by Brock Spalding and be able to give a double move and go deep. But to your point, we ran the mesh one time and we were successful with it for a first down. So maybe that's something. I wonder, too, how much, going into the pregame stuff, what Caton is comfortable with and what he feels. Some guys may not like reading mesh. And then the other part of it is you have to have a receiver that is able to read the defense too. So maybe that plays into it. And they just don't trust their inside guys right now and maybe have to utilize some of those outside guys, because I believe it was Anthony Smith that caught the mesh. Now they had a deep hitch coming in behind it, kind of that concept there to wear out the zone in the middle of the field.
And, I mean, mesh you got to be able to protect long enough, too, and that was an issue at times.
That's a good point.
But the one thing I would like to see, we used to call it a drive route, and we'd run it all the time with Lance Lewis. You let Yannick Smith or Anthony Smith just catch the ball running. Essentially, we'd put trips to one side, cheat in the splits to the single receiver. You have Yannick or Anthony in that single receiver spot, and they're just coming all the way across the field, and essentially those 3 trips are clearing vertical.
I remember seeing that so many times. Lance Lewis catching that ball across the middle.
Well, and then yesterday when we would line up in that formation, we had now a lot of times, to be fair, it was at the tight end we isolated when we would go trips, but they always had outside leverage. It seemed like I think we did it 3 or 4 times. And that was if we brought the guy in, to more of a modified slot. They always had outside leverage. I think the middle of the field was there.
Yeah. And hopefully, look, I mean, we still got to remember JDB is year 2 as a play caller. Like, he's still growing, and I think he's going to continue to get better. And first time for him facing an opponent back-to-back. Now, granted, different coordinator, but Dave Dorn was heavily involved in the game planning, just everything with his background. So, all right, final thing here, and then we'll get a break in. John Moody says, seems like we were forcing the Petaway deal in the opening 2 drives as well. Yeah, the Petaway and Mike Wright, again, all of it was behind the line of scrimmage. Negative 10 yards on 4 touches for those 2 guys. Those are the plays that, I think they'll work versus Campbell. They're clearly not going to work versus NC State. Are they going to be able to work against, Coastal and in the American? That's my question, because I think they have potential, but you got to find a way to block. You got to be able to block. If you can't block, they're not going to work.
Well, if they don't work against Campbell, it's going to be a rough season. And part of that is those guys, the receivers blocking in the slot, were getting their tails whooped.
Yeah.
And then the edge were getting blown up. We just didn't have a really good tackle play last night as well. And so when those defensive ends are shooting up the field and wreaking havoc, that receiver is trying to, or in this case, Petaway is trying to catch the ball and have a tight turn up the edge, and he's just nowhere to go because there's a defensive end already in the backfield. I think it's going to work against Coastal. That's why I'm not worried. My biggest takeaway from this game is how pleased I am with the defense. I think this offense is going to be fine. We saw they still put up numbers and were moving the football late in the game. Run game's going to improve as the offensive line gels and meshes and they find the right 5 guys, and then the competition is not going to be as strong outside. I will say, and Philip and I were both saying this, makes me really worried about BYU, probably more so than I was, because they're going to be bigger up front. But once we get into conference play and the rest of the schedule, I feel pretty good.
All right, let's get our second break in. We'll come back. We'll continue on. A lot more comments, discussion on the way. This is Hoist the Colors.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human. about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you farm to fork beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to fork beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown. At National Finance, we're all about hometown support, just like ECU football. National Finance helps us win on and off the field. They've got your back when you need it most. Fast, easy personal loans for life's big plays. And just like us, they're committed to Eastern North Carolina. National Finance, proud supporters of ECU athletics. Visit nfcmoney.com for loans as fast as today.
Get ready to board.
We're live with Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game. Now, back to Hoist the Colors.
Welcome back in. Hoist the Colors. Reaction Friday. ECU loses to NC State 24-17. Caden Hauser finished with 366 passing yards. Brock Spalding had 97 of those. How about the tight ends, guys? We haven't really talked about them specifically. I know DeCirio obviously was stopped short of the first down on that fourth down, but he had 6 catches for 49 yards. Javante Connor, 2 catches. I mean, that catch and run, first off, kudos to the offensive staff. You know, they've gotten a lot of flack for this game. Caden Hauser gets sacked, and then NC State is just like jogging their third down defense off the field, and you could tell they've practiced this a million times. The whole offensive staff on the sidelines going nuts to, hey, line up, free play, and they caught about 20 NC State players on the field. Bobby Harvard with us, and I thought obviously that led to the free play shot. Connor makes a great play, and you just kind of saw the potential. We always talk about the potential of these tight ends. We finally saw it on the field.
Yeah, and it was nice to see because honestly, I feel like we haven't had an advantage at the tight end position probably, since the Bryce Williams days, and we'd always talked about being a potential and how are they going to show up and produce, and they showed out game one. I'm really excited. They're young guys, but you can see they're athletic and talented, and it gives you another element to the offense too, and it allows you just to continue to build and add some pieces to get them more involved.
And that's the thing. It's like, I look at this box score, and like I look at the game last night and the offense, they kind of, I don't want to say they blew it, but let's be honest. Like, if you would have told us going in, you hold NC State to 24 points, I think we all would have taken that. So, like, the offense didn't play well enough, but yet I feel encouraged about some of the weapons we saw emerge. And, like, I think teams are going to have problems stopping all these weapons out wide. Now the question is, all right, is the running game, how fixable is it, Phillip? Because if you can get the running game truly going, then I think this offense can be as dangerous as we expect.
I think it can be, and I think there's maturity in the backfield to be patient and to not get frustrated. But we were talking about it kind of on the way home the other night. I think we were talking about something else, not specifically the run game, but how do we know whether or not we get it fixed against Campbell, right? This is a perfect opportunity. You play a Power 4 opponent, then you go to the FCS team, so you have that opportunity to think you fixed things, but we're not going to know for sure until we get to Coastal Carolina. I didn't feel like linemen were going the wrong way. I didn't feel like linemen were just mind blown on what to do. I felt like they were outmatched. And, again, like we talked about, now we're a little more worried about BYU because they're so big up front. But when they start going against guys that are their size, I still have faith in these guys. I'm not ready to throw in the towel yet. Everybody's played a bad football game. This is one of those where, was it frustrating? Yes. Was it as bad as it shows up on the stat sheet, though, when it comes to the alignment specifically? I do want to remind people now. You have minus 23 on a snap that goes over Caton's head, and you've had minus a handful here and there on these jet sweeps. Now, some of those I think were forward passes, but there were some that were handoffs. Up the middle, it was bad. It wasn't as bad as it looks, and it did get better. We had some 4, 5, 6-yard runs there, especially late in that third quarter. There was that time, what was it? We got the ball with like 3:43, I think, left in the third. We did start the drive with a few passes, but we rushed for a first down on 2nd and 2 where we got 4 yards, and then we rushed for a first down on 2nd and 4 where we got 6 yards. What?
I'm just laughing because I do remember there was a point in the game where you had a 3-yard run. I was like, oh my gosh, they actually got positive yardage.
I know. Don't get me wrong. I do remember the first run of the second half. They got like 2 yards, and I can think of the movie The Little Giants when they got their first yard, and the dad's like, they gained a yard. Oh, everybody goes crazy. That's kind of how it felt. But at the end of the day, like, they showed improvement. Still no reason to be happy, but there's no reason to throw in the towel.
Johnny Robertson, Mr. Stats, says the Pirates' longest run was 10 yards. I remember that as well. I was like, they ran for a true first down. This is a miracle. And they had 3 runs over 5 yards. So all of the runs Philip just mentioned account for ECU's successful running plays. On the game, Johnny Robertson follows up, says State was not nearly as effective when they went away from the up-tempo offense. In the final 32.5 minutes, the Pirates outgained State 378 to 195. State only ran 25 plays in the second half. 10 penalties for 86 yards. Adds Shores. Robert wants to know, does JDB need to go back to the booth? No, it's one game. That's my response, not a comment. Brett Hickman says he's on the bus to Shorter University in Rome, Georgia. He agrees with Bobby. Offense is going to be fine in conference play. He says, I am worried about the matchup with elite-level D-line and linebacker after last night. He adds, defense had a great game plan, loved the multiplicity. So, I mean, yeah, outside of BYU, like somebody asked me earlier, State, where does their D-line rank? BYU is going to be up there, probably better. I don't know if they'll be as fast, but they'll be bigger and stronger. Tulane has a really good defensive front. Outside of that, this is probably the best defensive front you'll face.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. You get it knocked out early, kind of what we thought. And like we said, I think BYU is going to be another battle. But as we're alluding to, Campbell gives us kind of a get-right game in a sense and get some confidence. And then if you can get some confidence built going into Coastal and you're able to move the football in the run game, these next 2 games, and Coastal's not going to be easy, so don't take this the wrong way that I'm thinking Coastal's going to be easy.
It's going to be a huge swing game.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that they have the chance there, if they can see some success in the run game, that will give them some confidence going into BYU, hopefully.
Scott Godwin with a good point here. He says a bright point was special teams, particularly punt and PAT/field goal. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to get mad at a college kicker for missing a 53-yarder. I will get mad at a kicker for missing an extra point or a kick under 40 yards or for not punting the ball. And honestly, like, Ryan Levy punted the ball, I thought, really good. He had the fake. I like the energy he brought. He was going nuts after that fake. So, like, I mean, special teams, do I dare give them an A? I mean, to me, I'm not going to – I don't expect a college kicker to make a 53-yarder. So I didn't see anything I disliked.
I mean, that first punt especially, man, the distance and paired with the hang time, like, I thought as soon as he hit it and I saw the returner back and I was like, oh, crap, he just outkicked his coverage. Nope, he didn't. And Andrew and I were talking about during one of the breaks, like, he was very pleased with the punting.
Andrew Bass, it's Philip speaking to a Hall of Fame ECU punter. So – he would know. What did you think of special teams? Anything?
Yeah, I mean, paying attention to the punt returner that we were discussing earlier. Yeah. I mean, all the situations where they were punting it deep into our own territory, I thought everything he played right. He read the ball correctly in terms of when to let it bounce and hit into the end zone. He fair caught the one he needed to catch. Special teams didn't lose us the game, and that's what you want. You don't want the special teams to lose the game. And obviously, they gave us a big momentum play with the opportunity to win the game even. You're right. I'm not going to bash a kid for missing a 53-yard field goal. I was surprised how short it was. I thought it was going in based upon the TV copy.
It was online, right down the middle.
But in fairness to him, too, if we don't make those two mistakes, not just one, but two mistakes earlier, it's not a 53-yarder.
Yeah, and it goes through the uprights because it was about 7 yards short. It's just, again, those mistakes come back. Cameron adds, we win by 2 scores. If our offense shows up in the first half, we basically have State good field position to score, given we could not move the ball. I don't know if that made any sense, but that's what he said. And then John wanted to know, it appeared that Caden Hauser was looking and locking in on one receiver during the first half and third quarter, but during the fourth, he was making a lot more reads. Is that a product of not having enough time to throw? I think so. I just think he didn't have enough time, more times than not. I thought his pocket presence awareness was much improved. Like, he stepped up in the pocket. He looked comfortable in the pocket. I mean, Caden played a great game. I know you had the drop snap and there was the throw he missed, but like the one he missed to Smith that could have been a touchdown, he was getting hit as he threw it. He had to throw a tick early. I just think he played, about as well as you could ask outside of maybe a few mistakes.
0 turnover-worthy plays, baby. That's all I heard.
The most important. And then the other thing I'll add to it is on the TV copy, that last drive there towards the end as we were moving the ball, they zoomed in to our huddle and stuff, and you could just see Caden's eyes.
He's a competitor, man. He's cool.
He was ready to go.
Yep.
And I was like, all right, we got the right dude at quarterback.
Yeah, and I mean, that's – as weird as it is to say after a loss, I almost feel just all the unknowns. I feel a little bit more convicted in this team being able to have a 7-8 win season if they can continue this defensive progression and also stay healthy and get the offense figured out. All right, let's get our final break in. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the show after this.
It's time to soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota. Summer is here with hot deals on a great selection of new Toyotas, like a Corolla, $189 a month, or Tacoma, $279 a month. Soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
The sun is out, and so are the deals at Greenville Toyota. Soak up the savings on a hot selection of new Toyotas, like a Camry, $229 a month, or RAV4, $289 a month. Soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota.
Loyal and bold, we're the purple and golds.
Yo ho ho!
And we're back to Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
All right, it is a Reaction Friday. Shout out to Sup Dogs for supporting the program, bringing us Bobby Harvard's appearance, Philip Pilkington producing. Got about 5 minutes left in the show. ECU loses 24-17. We're reading your comments. We're reacting to that. We've got a Wolfpack fan in the comments section. Get out of here, please. But
kindly
also,
leave.
Yep. At least you're engaged in helping our numbers, so thank you for that.
You guys are a little mean. Did they at least say something nice? Were they? If they were a
just
jerk,
said Wolfpack.
Oh,
I mean, whatever.
Okay, fair enough.
Johnny Robertson, speaking of the Wolfpack, says State's kicker was 3 for 10 in field goals in high school with a long of 30. How is he a starting ACC kicker? He certainly did not look like one last night.
Isn't he like a true freshman? He like 18. Like
he looked like a true freshman. It was not pretty, and I really thought, man. I thought NC State bleep was about to happen and ECU was going to win the game, and it just didn't work out. So, I don't know, man. All right, Cameron says, how much has NC State spent on their roster comparison to East Carolina's? So, NC State is at the $20.5 million threshold for revenue sharing. And that means that they have spent a lot on basketball, I know, but they have spent a lot more in ECU. In terms of ECU is nowhere near, but ECU is probably around $4 or $5 million for the entire athletic department. I would venture to say NC State football wise, if they're maxing out the $20.5 million, I mean probably around $10 million for their football roster. So
I was gonna say closer to 15
probably
or 16.
even more. I mean, I don't know exactly. I know they are spending a lot on basketball. But either way, I don't think they're getting a ton of bang for their buck.
Yeah, I know Blake had made the comment that CJ Bailey is like making more than the entire roster
Probably,
for us. I don't know if that's necessarily the case based upon some of the numbers that I've seen out there for the quarterbacks this year, but it's pretty daggum close. And that's just one player, so you can imagine what they're putting around. But honestly, this team, the one thing that excites me, and I didn't mention it yesterday, that really excites me about this team in this season is the chip that seems to be on their shoulder. I think they're just out to prove something, which is really good to see after the way this season finished last year. They came, they finished, winning 6 of 7, and they could have really easily just kind of come into the offseason and this new season like, hey, we got it figured out. But to me, it seems like they have a bigger chip on their shoulder going into this fall.
And I just know talking with people after the game last night that they kind of take a confidence from this game that, all right, like we made a lot of mistakes. We still should have won this game on the road at NC State. And I think that there's a belief and a drive in there, as you said, to get a lot better. And they still think they can have a special season. I think that they can as well. Again, I don't know how good NC State is, but they're going to have better talent, raw talent at most spots because of the things we just talked about. Any other, whether it be personnel, Bobby, any other thoughts you have that we haven't hit on coming out of the game? As we look to wrap up.
The only other thing I'll mention, we lost the game by our mistake, so that I'm getting that out there in the forefront. But there was a play, I think it was that 3rd and 8 down at the goal line. We got called for pass interference.
Yeah.
They held our D linemen pretty good, and I thought it should have been offsetting penalties and replay 3rd down. And shoot, they may go back and score on that 3rd and 8 again on the replay down. But we kind of discussed it, and again, I'm not making this an official deal, but we kind of thought with the American Conference maybe we'd get some calls our way, and
definitely did not happen.
Did not. And then Soar the Eagle, I have a qualm to pick with you. The fact you're going to pick Tulane Northwestern, so I'm just starting to believe more and more, as we've talked about in baseball season, the American Conference is anti-East Carolina.
What's sad is like Chancellor Rogers and John Gilbert have sat on some pretty hot chairs in the American, and yet it feels like the American. I really think it comes down to they're just inept.
Yeah,
the officiating is inept. Like they're not trying to hurt ECU, but they're that inept. But you would think American crew, again, not a conspiracy theorist most of the time, but like you would want your team on the road in an ACC venue to have a shot to win. Instead, you call more penalties on the American team than the ACC team. So didn't get a friendly whistle at all, did the Pirates. Skip in the comments section said, Steven, you said we'd lose. I did. I was hoping I'd be wrong, but here we are. The Pirates did lose. And the picks are looking pretty good thus far over this college football season.
I got a quick question for you. Seeing the results and how well the defense played, would you rather what gives you more confidence going into the season? The loss with the defense playing well, or if we would have won the game, 45-42 with a shootout and we couldn't stop anybody? Going into the season, not this individual matchup, but going into the year, would you feel better one way or the other?
Honestly, probably the defense playing well gives me more hope for the long term, because I think seeing them play well as a collective unit gives me hope. Like, I know the offense can put it together and score, and obviously you would want to take the win, but at the end of the day, I'm almost more bullish on this team after what I saw despite the loss, because I know the offense can be good. I know Matt Maddox is a good offensive line coach. They'll get better up front, and they'll play more reasonable level competition.
Not only did the defense impress me, but the defense looked like they were going to give up 50 and then impress me.
Yeah.
I'm even more intrigued by that than I would have been had we just let up those stats in 24 points.
Indeed. All right, gentlemen, we are out of time. Bobby, appreciate you.
Yep,
Good
thank
stuff.
you.
Shout out to Sub Dogs. Glad football is back. Everybody, the best part about a Thursday night game is now we get to sit back and watch some college football on a Saturday, and even tonight, Friday night, there's some action as well. So enjoy the weekend. We will be back Monday at 12 noon to talk about more of the NC State game and start looking ahead to week 2. We'll see you then.